Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. I hope you had a great week so far. If this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, you're in the number one place for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if this is the first episode you're listening to, as always, go back to the beginning, start at number one. I'm going to take you on a full journey and give you insights and strategies to kind of step by step the road to financial freedom, true financial freedom, that is, not just fluffy, partial, incomplete strategies. This is tangible, objective stuff we're teaching here. So go back and listen. If you've listened this far and you haven't left a little review on iTunes for us, then please do that, because I do love reading through all of those reviews, and it does give me, it makes me grateful. It gives me inspiration to keep this series going. So appreciate your love and comments. And if you've been listening over the last couple of weeks, we've been really going into personal growth. So this is kind of the income growth aspect. And as I mentioned before, transformational from when I went as, an engineer and a geeky kind of trader investor to start talking and speaking and putting my message out there and really getting people to resonate with my message. And I know the power of income growth through personal branding, personal messaging. And as you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had Jonathan on talking about LinkedIn and the importance of getting your messaging out on social platforms such as LinkedIn, Facebook. Then we had me posting a vulnerability video of my very first YouTube attempt. And the idea was to try and encourage people to kind of take action, get out, use this time wisely, use this time as your excuse to really just start that ball rolling, get on video, get on film, make some cock ups, make some errors, look stupid, and get out there, because it's not perfect first time, and it's never perfect really. You just see the perfect bit. And then we had Tara Halliday come on, who specializes in imposter syndrome. So last week's episode, Tara came on and was giving you some insanely valuable advice and tips on how to overcome imposter syndrome and what it's all about, and things you can do immediately to kind of overcome that and shake that off. So since then, we've had a lot of messages talking about, well, yeah, I feel ready now. I feel more ready than ever to do this. But how the hell do I speak? How do I actually deliver master the delivery of my spoken word? And today I'm carrying on the theme of personal growth, and I've got another very, very good friend, Elliot K, and mentor to Tears of Freedom program as well. And he specializes in helping people speak on stage, speak to the world, give their message to the world. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Elliot K, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, my name is truly Elliot K, and basically I'm the co-founder of Speaker Express, and what our expertise is in helping businesses communicate their company, their product, their services through public speaking, whether it be live, interactive and online, whether it be offline. I've got over 7,000 hours of delivering talks. I was an assistant international trainer for public speaking for 5 years, best-selling author, new book coming out this year called, are you ready? Speak, Influence, Sell. So that will be out in the next few months. There you go. That's the new one. Oh my God, coming out with that title, Jason. That's a whole different podcast. But we'll talk about that another time. And that's me in a nutshell. We might get the co-workers coming in a bit late, and my little girl might pop in to say good morning. So I just want to warn people. But yes, that's me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my third business. The other two didn't fail. I just changed directions. I built a big coaching business, and then I moved more into the strategic space, and I work with coaches, trainers, consultants, and speakers strategically to grow their businesses to 6 figures and beyond. And for the last 2 years, I've always been involved in Speaker Express. I've been full-time on Speaker Express, looking to grow it, scale it. I've taken over the UK. We work with hundreds of entrepreneurs to really master their message, get out there and use speaking to grow their business, to have an impact in the industry. And our key hashtag is use your voice for good. That's what we stand for, using your voice for good in industries.
Use a voice for good. And I really resonate with that, because when I was researching on how to talk, I looked up a guy called Roger Love, and he was a coach to Michael Jackson. He was a coach to Beyonce and Tony Robbins. And one of the things he said was, your voice isn't for you, it's a gift for other people, right? And I remember him saying, you know, if I wanted to tell myself a joke, I don't have to speak. I can just sit quiet. There you go. I told myself a joke in my head. And the way that he kind of describes your voice as being a gift to give away to the world, to get your message out. And I very, very much, you know, that really resonated with me. That's very much how I see my voice now. That's how I see the importance of speaking. So we're going to talk about some of the insights that you've gleaned from that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned, because I'd love to know kind of what kind of feedback you've had on the transformational impact that it's had on businesses and the income standpoint once they kind of do that stuff. But first of all, I've heard, you know, they say that people fear public speaking more than death. They'd rather die. Okay. So tell us a little bit about, from working with people who want to come and speak and they come and work with you, what is that fear? You know, what are some of the setbacks? What are the real deep kind of causes for that fear?
Yeah, it's really fascinating from a human psychology point of view. So Forbes did, actually, interesting enough, Forbes did some research, and they found that 70% that did do public speaking training attributed the growth of their business or career to that. No one more famous than Warren Buffett, that before he actually went and enrolled in investing, he dedicated his whole first page of his book to public speaking and how that gave him confidence to express himself, to negotiate, and to chat up his wife. So if nothing else, by the end of this podcast, you'll be able to chat people up better. But you see, what happens is, it's really interesting. So, and even Dale Carnegie said, you know, when you do public speaking, it's the biggest magnifying glass you can put on yourself. It exposes everything. If you have insecurities around what you look like and you put yourself in front of people, that will be magnified in your mind, nowhere else, right? I'm not saying it actually, you know, they say the camera adds a few pounds, but that's another matter.
Yeah, right.
You know, exactly. So it's the fear of judgment. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of looking like a fool, which is another version of judgment. It's the fear of getting it wrong that inhibits people. You've discussed imposter syndrome. So who am I to speak on this topic? I haven't achieved enough in my life, or I'm not good enough to speak. All these things. And if you stack them up, and normally it's not just one thing, right? If you think from a cognitive point of view, one triggers the other. If you stack these up, of course it can be crippling and scary. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be scared and get it wrong on stage than dead any day, right? So that would be my philosophy. I'd rather be alive and be given a chance. So I can completely understand, and I'm very empathetic to those who have those absolute crippling fears. We don't deal with that. What we would do if someone came to us is we'd refer them to someone, because that's a real niche expertise. When it comes to nerves and those fears of judgment and the fear of getting it wrong, and of course, going blank, we hear a lot, I guess, is a form of getting it wrong. It is, a lot of it is practice, right? You shared your vulnerable video, and now you're a master at it, right? So had you not taken that first step, you never would have been here. So one of our key insights is, our sayings is, your first is always the worst. And if you look at anything you did for the first time, anything, it's always the worst you'll ever do it. So it's always going to be better from there on. So just getting going, getting it wrong, daring to bomb is something else we also teach. Like, dare to get it wrong, because then you can get it right. I suppose in the trading sense and building wealth, right? Sometimes you've got to dive in, learn quickly, and pull out. It's the same with speaking, practicing, daring to get it wrong, daring to bomb. I know people that have like fear of getting wrong right now are shaking, going, oh my God, what's he talking about getting it wrong? Let go of perfection, right? It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be right. And those are the key insights when it comes to the fear of it. And again, I come back to, I'd rather be alive and be able to speak than anything else.
Totally.
You know, and when it comes to nerves and dealing with all these things, there are techniques, and probably Jason, you know some of them. And if a lot of people listening probably know of them, I'll just list a few. But obviously you've got NLP, neurolinguistic programming. You can teach, you know, there's anchoring, there's emotional freedom technique, there's meditation, there's mindfulness, there's going for a jog before a talk, which helps you, you know, push down some of the nervous energy. There's visualization, which, you know, back in the Soviet Union days, they mastered the art of visualization, came and ran all these and won all these gold medals because it fires off the same neurons as if you're doing it. It's about coming up with a ritual that allows you to get ready. It's a bit like an athlete that would do a warm up. It's, you know, getting into that zone. It's the same. And the more you practice and the more you have a ritual, actually, the nerves are excitement. You want some nerves. You don't want to become numb, right? You want some nerves. But that's how you would address the fear, by having tools which are out there to deal with it.
Amazing. So we're going to talk about some action steps, real cool, tangible action steps, like a framework almost that you can go through, and you can walk away from this podcast and go and practice in a bit. And I want to talk about some insights in just a sec, but just then I just want to kind of touch on what you just said about, you know, mastering and practice and being perfect. And I'm not perfect still. I will always try to get better. And every time I look at what I've just done, if the more months that go by that I look back, I think, oh, you know, the more time span between my content, the more I cringe still. And I'm like, oh, you know, because you're always continuously improving, that, you know, there comes a point where if 12 months go by, you're so much better that 12 months forward than you were 12 months ago. And that is just continuous. And I was speaking to someone the other day, and they had a load of posts on their social channel, and then they deleted them. And I said, why did you delete them? And they said, well, I wasn't happy with it. It wasn't the best that I could do. And I said, look, you're never, ever going to be happy. You'll never, ever be happy with it, ever, until you die. Because you'll always, as long as you're continuously improving, you'll look back and you'll never be happy with the previous stuff. So it's crazy to do that. And what I find is people love the journey more. They love resonating with people that are real, you know, seeing the journey, seeing the progress. How many views, like you look back at Gary Vee's first wine library, it's had millions of views and people love it. And now he can share it and it's inspirational to people. So very, very cool stuff, mate. What are some of the insights then that you've got from businesses from you know, that they've reported back to you of how it's transformed their business?
Well, there's several ways. I think let's start tangibly in terms of income, right? The moment you're seen as that voice, right? That voice of an industry that's doing good, or that key person of influence, or that expert, however you want to phrase it, then what happens is if you become that go-to person, then the work flows to you. So we've seen people's businesses grow very quickly, also very slowly. It depends on the pace they want to play at, right? But once you become that authority, then of course people gravitate towards you, and then you get really booked up, oversubscribed, and then your income rises. You're able to hire more people to step back. We worked with a guy who ran a marketing agency for 20 years. Confidence wasn't his issue, but refining his message in a way that landed on his ideal client was. So the moment we worked with him on that, he got up, because he works with MDs and CEOs. That's his audience, right, for marketing language. And then he got more qualified leads, therefore his income went up, therefore his business grew. So tangibly, when you speak, you do it right, and it's used to grow your business. This isn't about being a keynote speaker. That's a different type of speaker, okay? That's absolutely a whole different thing. Then your income will follow. That's just the fact. As long as you do a good job of it, you're real, you're authentic, and you're there to do good in your industry, regardless of the industry. We've seen people, of course, from a confidence point of view, grow, be able to articulate themselves. We've seen people's marketing transform. We've seen how they market transform, going away from oh, I blog. One woman we work with, huge blogger, like 50,000 plus followers on her blog, right? She was really scared to move across off screen. So we've seen her now move off screen, become again a voice in her industry, therefore more clients, business growth. Till recently she partnered up with Marie Folio, right? So that's what's happened as a result of being more vocal, more visual, is people gravitate towards you. So those are some of the results people get. And it is a very personal journey. You mentioned that. So for some people, it is literally about that, just being able to do it. I just want to be able to stand there confidently. For some people, it's like, hey, by the way, if I had £1 for every time someone told me they're confident, I'd be a multimillionaire. Because it's also the confidence to go to another level. It's the confidence to deal with a room when it's going wrong. It's confidence to deal with hecklers, things like that. There's different levels of confidence. That's something else we train out. What's really important, some of the key insight is this: whatever level of confidence you're at, there's another level, right? Regardless of where you are. It's really about mastering how you communicate your core message. It's having a key structure that gives you predictable results, right? Yep. So it's having a signature talk, as we would call it, not one, you can have several, but at the end of it, that people are going to get up and want to do business with you. Absolutely. It's knowing where to speak, where to get booked, because you could be a great speaker, but if you're speaking in front of the wrong audiences, it's a waste of time. But if you're not a great speaker and bringing in front of the right audiences, it harms your reputation. Yeah. So it's about being seen in the right places. I'll never forget it. Actually, this relates to you. I was invited to speak in front of traders, but at the time I was talking about purpose. And I still do that every now and then. And I remember the main guy, this big American investor, I can't remember his name now. He's like, what's that guy doing on stage? These guys don't want to hear about purpose. They want to hear about how to invest. So I was in a completely wrong room. And I thought I was in the right room because, of course, traders will want to know about purpose. But the guy's like, not this audience. So know where to speak. That's so important about getting booked. Yep. The other thing is, please, here's a great insight. And everybody, if you take nothing away from this whole podcast, take this away. You're always selling. Please understand. Don't think it's a separate part of your presentation. It will come later. The moment you stand up and speak, there's a sales process. You're selling yourself, your product, your company, your brand. One of the four or all of the four. Please understand that there's a sale transaction going on now. To sell authentically, real, in a way that's graceful and respectful, that's the way to do it. But please don't think that you're not selling.
No.
Right? You're always selling.
We are always selling. We're always selling.
Let's be honest. And of course, the other thing you want to do is every time you speak, you want it to raise your profile, that little bit. So those are the key insights. Now, you integrate all of that, your business will grow.
Yeah. I can relate to that, and I'll tell you a little story. One of the things where speaking helps you as well, which is kind of something you don't really talk about, is there's been numerous taxi rides home that I've had from London, and they'll ask me a bit about what I do, and because I'm able to speak and articulate a message in the way that you just described, where you get your point across, where it's like, I want to hear more. I've always had really fascinating discussions with taxi drivers where by the end of the thing, they are literally like, tell me more, where can I find you? Like, what is the thing, right? And funnily enough, just yesterday, I had a message on Instagram from a taxi driver who picked me up from a little festival up the road about 4 years ago and has been watching me ever since. And he messaged me on Instagram, this long message saying, look, I don't know if you remember me. I drove you home, but I know I have a feeling you're the right person to help me. What can I? And I'm telling you what, like, if you don't think speaking every time is selling, that guy is probably going to come and do business with me now and want to learn more. So never
free taxi rides for life, huh?
And always sell to your taxi drivers. No, but really, really inspiring. I mean, I was blown away by that. And it just proves the point, right? Always selling. So what I want to do now is this is insanely valuable, this podcast, but what it's about to get even more valuable, because what I want to do in this podcast, we like to leave people, and the newsletter, we like to leave people where they go away and they don't feel like they've just listened to a podcast. They feel like they've got something to do and they can go and take immediate action steps to make progress. So what I'd love to do is to go through some action steps or a framework that people
Yep.
can do immediately now. And what we're going to do in the Tears of Freedom group, we're going to set a challenge for this as well.
Woo.
So if you're in the group, we're actually going to set this challenge as well. So get a little framework going that people can go and practice, set up, and take away with them. So would you mind sharing that with us, Elliot?
Of course. So, and this is something that, the other thing I just want to quickly mention is when you use a master public speaking, whether it's live interactive online or whether it's offline, you're mastering tools for life. So this structure you can use for years to come, by the way, in different contexts, adverts, content creation, many ways. Amazing. So there's 4 key parts of it. There's there's question, pain, insight, call to action. So I repeat that. There's question, pain, insight, call to action. I'll do one that's relevant for Tears of Freedom. I'm going to improvise here, so work with me. So it will sound something like this. So what we want you to do is we want you to go away and create 7 1-minute minimum videos and then post in the Tears of Freedom group. And then as Jason, I will give you feedback. And then Jason will announce some cool prize. I'll let him come up with that one for those who complete it, or I don't know, we'll come up with a criteria. But here's the structure. It goes like this: question, pain, insight, call to action. So Tears of Freedom version. Do you know why most people struggle to gain financial freedom? Are you aware of what really needs to happen to be financially free? Here's the reality. Most people sign up to course after course, get bombarded with information. So either they don't do anything, they don't understand it enough, and therefore they've wasted money and time and they give up. Here's what I can tell you from being in the Tears of Freedom group. You must understand why you're doing what you're doing, not just on a personal purpose level, but why you're buying what you're buying, why you're investing and where to invest. That is something we must do if you want to understand and gain financial freedom, real financial freedom that's lasting. I'm not talking about delayed income. I'm talking about real financial freedom. So if you want to find out more how you can do that, what I'm going to invite you to do is join this 7-day challenge. And by the end of it, you will truly understand what it takes to really start to take that step forward to be financially free, right? So end of. So that's the kind of video we would like you to, how's that sound, by the way, Jason? Do I qualify?
Yeah, cool. Sold.
Great. So that's the kind of video we want you to do within your field of expertise, within your industry, right? So I did it for the Tears of Freedom, but you know, you can do it according to other industries. So chuck a couple of industries at me and I'll give them a go, Jason. So that we've done Tears of Freedom type.
Okay, so health and fitness.
Health and fitness. Do you know why most people don't truly maintain their fitness? Why do most people start, get to a level of fitness, and then fall away? The reality is this: as you get fitter, you must adopt your training. You must change how you train, what you put in your body, and understand where to go to next. And most people don't do that. They get to a certain level, they plateau, and then they either go downwards or they don't progress. Here's what I want you to understand. As you evolve with your fitness, your body changes. Therefore, if your body changes, you must be able to adapt to what your body needs to that level of fitness. That's why you always need to change your goals. You need to adapt to where you need to go to. Look at your nutrition, look at your training habits. And the other thing, of course, is people just get bored, right? You need to keep it fresh. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to reach out to me. And what I've got from you is a 4-page PDF that explains how to keep your training interesting and always raise your level of fitness.
This is great. I mean, I want to do more. This is, by the way, this is completely unscripted. This is me throwing stuff at Elliot here. So can we do one more?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's go for a life coaching, right? So
okay. Do you know why most people, do you know why most people really walk around unhappy? It appears like they're given up on life. Do you know why most people do that? Here's the reality. We compromise on our standards. We accept mediocrity in our life. We allow other people to dictate our dreams, so much so that we give up on our dreams. And here's a painful fact. The graveyard is the wealthiest place on this planet because most people take their dream with them. And that is painful for me to hear and even comprehend. The reality is you can, and this isn't just cheesy American stuff. This is real. You can have the life you want. You can have the life you choose. Now, will you have to put in the effort? You will. But by thorough understanding of where you want to go, how to get there, you can get there. So I'd like to invite you to have a conversation with me, BKD, Dad Bod Life Coach. And I want to talk to you how I can help you start to truly live the life of your dreams in a way that's relevant to you, not a Hollywood version, the real life that will make you happy. So reach out to me.
Wow. And by the way, Elliot isn't a life coach.
No.
Before I get loads of inquiries.
No, please, I don't coach.
But how incredible, right? So what's the challenge, Elliot? You want people to practice taking what they love talking about or what they love most and practice 7 1-minute pitches like that?
Yeah, minimum, let's do 7 minimum 1-minute videos, but no more than 3, right? Because otherwise it'll just be too much. But if you can succinctly do that in 60 or so seconds with that structure, and post them in the group. Let's do 7 days. And then what I'll do is I'll jump in, give feedback. I think, Jason, you'll jump in. I'm sure other people would love to give you feedback. Listen, also by doing the challenge, it'll give you a different way to expose your business, what you do. And hopefully from the call to action themselves, people will reach out to you as well. But what I want people to do is go through a process of defining their message, what they do, how they do it, the problem they solve in a real solid structured way. Now, again, once you have this content, you can use it for different things. Yeah. But that's the challenge. 7 videos, Excellent. 1 minute minimum for 7 days. And we'll agree on a start and end date. And I think that's the way to go.
Awesome. So just to kind of clarify, the structure is what? You start with a question?
Then it's pain. So what's the pain around the question? What's the insight to deal with the pain? And then what's the call to action?
Right. And I just want you guys to really, I'm just going to round this off here. And I want you to think about the podcast you've just listened to. Okay. And the structure of this very podcast of how we started with a question, right? A problem. We then started talking about mindset. Okay. And the pains around that and talking about people want to kill themselves rather than speak. Then we talked about the insights.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the call to action and the giving you the action steps. So this is something that I live and breathe. This entire format is how I deliver almost every piece of content that I do. And if you go and watch any of my videos, even the little 60-second intro to this podcast, right up to 60-second videos that I do, or even my hour-long accountability sessions, I'll take people through this journey every single time. So Elliot, this wasn't even planned. This is just something that Elliot's given to you guys. And I want you to really take this away, write down, get a whiteboard, get present with what's going on here and literally just map out your script, practice. I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And I look forward to hearing your speeches. So Elliot, thanks for coming on, mate. Just finally, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about speaking?
You can go through the social media channel is at Speakers Express. And I don't know if we'll put a little post thing. Yeah. You can reach out hello@speakerexpress.co.uk. Just drop me a line. So those are the ways to get in touch with me. And we have lots of resources that you can have access to as well. That just there to support you. But that's the best way. So hello@speakerexpress.co.uk or through Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. And Elliot's also working with us inside the Tears of Freedom program as our speaking mentor. So if you enjoyed this particular episode, guys, share it around, share it with people who you feel need it. If you're kind of working on your speaking gig and you know that you're benefiting from it and someone else can, share it with them. I hope you got value from this. As I say, if you did, give it a little like and a little review on iTunes. And until next week, guys, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.